Hey guys, I'm not sure if anybody is even watching just yet. This is like super late for me. Um, I don't normally have these this late, but I had a lot of stuff to do today. The library was closed once again, so I spent time catching up on housework and things like that. I fixed a stew today. I made Hershey's miniatures chocolate cupcakes. Um, did laundry. Hey, Brad. Um, Glad to see there's somebody in here this late. Um, of course, there's other people in other parts of the world. Hey, X-Ray, I'm glad to see you in here too as well. I was just gonna say, I'm sure there. Uh, hey, Wes. So you watched Texas Chainsaw 3D tonight? Well, you can certainly in the chat let us know uh, how that was for you. Um, isn't that the one where Steve talks about the magical button that never pops open on that girl's shirt? Uh, yeah, for shame. That's right, X-Ray. The cabinets are probably gonna. Hey, Garrett. Um, I guess I need to be having these late so that like more people. It seems like a lot more people come in whenever you do these late. So I'm guessing Wes was right when he told me like the later you do these things, the more people are able to join. Magic button is correct. Okay, yeah, that's all Steve kept talking about when uh, I think we watched it together or something, and he kept talking about the magic button on that chick's shirt. Um, Wes, you said you're doing a Texas Chainsaw Massacre retrospective thing Sunday night, so that's why you're rewatching the ones you hadn't seen much. Okay, um, I don't imagine that Steve will be helping with that, but I was just curious uh, if he was going to join in and do anything with that. Tomorrow at work, I'm doing TCM the beginning. Oh, crap. Do you have to work tomorrow, Wes? That sucks. I usually only have to work one Saturday at the library a month, unless something weird happens. Which, when I was part-time and I was a clerk and a page, I had to work more than that. So, I would rather not work any Saturdays. But, I knew when I got into library work that, that was going to happen. I was going to have to work some Saturdays. Is it, Garrett? Oh, man. No, I would say that, in my opinion, I think the 3D one, even if you don't watch it in 3D, is better than that TCM the beginning. So, okay, Wes, you only do one Saturday a month usually, too. Yeah, it still kind of sucks having to work any Saturdays. But, I'll take it if I only have to work one. Yeah, I would agree with you there that the 3D one is better than the Michael Bay movies. Hey, John. Wonderful weather in the South. Yeah, really. But I thought I heard that Eastern Kentucky got off a little bit easier than some of the counties in Western and Central Kentucky. Wes may correct me if I'm wrong on that, but that's what I thought I heard. But anyway, I was going to say there are other people in other parts of the world, in other countries and stuff like the UK or China or any of these other places where the time is different and it might be daytime as opposed to being nighttime here. Oh, wow. We got a little bit of snow. There was they thought we was going to get major ice, like a 4 to a half inch of ice. But luckily, where we're at in Louisville, it didn't get that bad. I would still, recommend, like I've been telling Steve every morning when he had to go into work. See, I've been off for the last couple of days because they closed the library. I doubt we'll get that free pass anymore because yesterday it rained most of the day, and I think they were expecting like a major ice event, and it didn't turn out to be so much of that in most of Louisville. I think Indiana got hit pretty hard, but we had like a slushy stuff that kind of froze over, and then there was snow on top of that. So, I reminded Steve to be careful when he left for work this morning. You said, X-Ray, you said we just had some rain wash away the old frozen snow, too. Tomorrow's going to be icy as shit. Yeah, they thought that a lot of the areas in Kentucky was going to be really icy. They thought it was going to be, I think they really thought it was going to be like in '09 when we had that major ice storm that cut out power. I was living with my parents at the time, and we were without power that year for 2 straight weeks. It was miserable. Hey, Jay, glad to see you in here, too. And, of course, I got my drink of choice tonight. As I said in the title of this, there's going to be Dirty Shirlies, and I've got my Dirty Shirley here tonight. Went to bed at 5:15 tonight. No, actually, he just now, just shortly before I started this stream, he went to lay down. But he had like a gummy and a half, and I think I think those gummies just put him out. Okay, you say your history of vid is at 9 p.m. and he'll be dreaming away at that time about some Italian women eating spaghetti. Probably Well, Steve always says he doesn't like to mix sex and food. I started to say naked Italian women eating spaghetti, but probably that's not the case. Mm. There is a new gimmick, the gummies. Maybe. I'm going to have to invest in it, unfortunately. Well, I'll tell you, Wes, those gummies, I don't know if I'm extra sensitive or what, but, I've never smoked weed, so, and these had THC in it. The first time I took one, I only took one, and I did as they suggested, and I cut it in half and took half, and then waited a little bit and took the other half. And when it all kicked in, I felt very strange. I was trying to walk into the kitchen, and it was like it took a half a second more for my foot to go down to the floor. It was just very strange. And so I don't know if I'll be taking any more of the gummies. Um, Does Steve wear his captain's hat when he takes his nap time? No, X-Ray, he does not. Because Steve gets very overheated very easily. And for those of you that have watched his live streams, if he starts out with the captain's hat, or any other hat for that matter, invariably that hat's going to be removed off the top of his head before he gets very far into his live stream. Oh yeah, I'm sure that both of us would have flunked a drug test if we had an unexpected drug test. Um, yeah, well, see, Jay, I've never been stoned. I've been drunk, but not stoned, and so Steve told me that's pretty much what you feel like. He said you do feel disconnected. I just felt really like there was a disconnect between my brain and what I was trying to tell my body to do. And you know how they say some people get paranoid when they smoke pot? I I was afraid that I was going to, freak out or something because I was like, good Lord, how long is this feeling going to last? And is it going to get any worse? Maybe I should have just relaxed or something and not got so anxious. Uh, but I thought I was going to throw myself into a panic attack or something. But, that didn't end up being the case. And I read up on it later. And they said the best way to get over that high feeling is to just go take a nap, just go to sleep. So I eventually ended up doing that. After I sat on the couch for a while, I did a lot better if I didn't try to move around too much. If I just sat on the couch, it was a lot better. Um, but, things that you're watching and stuff like that, it didn't really seem to slow down for me. But it just, everything seems strange. But as you said, Jay, that's all part of being stoned. And so I guess my takeaway from that is I've never been stoned before doing that. And, so I didn't know what it felt like. But this is an alcohol drink, and I don't know how many of you have heard of Dirty Shirlies, but I bet many of you have heard of Shirley Temples. But Shirley Temples are a non-alcoholic drink. A Dirty Shirley is the alcoholic version. This has Smirnoff cherry vodka. It has a little lemon lime soda in it. It has 2 tablespoons of grenadine syrup in it. And I did put a splash of orange juice in it because they say that you can, some people prefer to put a little splash of orange juice in it. And then there's a maraschino cherry in there as well, which the maraschino cherry has sunk to the bottom. It was floating at the top of my glass. But you only use a fourth of a cup of vodka in this. I learned my lesson with vodka a while back. I was making my own screwdrivers, and unfortunately, I used too much vodka and not enough orange juice, and I got very, very sick, and I was sick for 3 days. No, actually, I haven't gotten into Steve's liquor cabinet because this is not Steve's cup of tea. I drink this. I'll drink other like cocktail, like mixed drinks, and I also like Fireball whiskey. And Steve likes none of those things. I mean, those are just not his drink of choice. He would much rather drink a beer than drink any of these fruity drinks, which is probably most men. They're not going to want to drink fruity drinks. I know I worked with a guy at the library in computer services, and he has admitted that he likes some of the fruity drinks, so the other guys in the department make fun of him. But he, fortunately, he's able to recommend good drinks to me. Steve likes liquefied gummies. What's my favorite Lamberto Bava film? Oh, you know what? I don't know if it's the alcohol or what, Wes, but I'm trying to think of some Lamberto Bava movies, and unfortunately, all I'm thinking is Mario Bava movies. So, if you name off some, I can probably tell you my favorite out of those. Steve only drinks the hard stuff like chocolate teenies. Yeah. Steve actually, to be honest, Steve's a beer drinker if he drinks anything. And Steve doesn't drink a lot nowadays anyway. Oh, okay. Yeah, the Demons movies. How could I forget? I'd probably have to say out of those, I like the Demons movies. But I also do like Macabre, even though that movie is just so bizarre. But Demons, probably the first Demons is actually my favorite. And he co-directed Shock. Now, I like Shock. Shock is a weird little movie. I thought I saw, Wes, that you did like a review of it. I haven't actually watched it in a while. I need to go back and watch that movie. Because I remember really liking it, but it was weird. But Macabre is weird too. And if I'm remembering correctly, Macabre is maybe loosely based on a real case of a woman who kept her lover's head or something, or she kept something of her dead lovers and would sleep, have it in the bed with her when she was sleeping. Blade in the Dark needs a U.S. release. Yeah, I would agree with that. It's been a while since I watched Blade in the Dark. I remember liking it, and I'd like to watch it again. Shock is excellent. All those movies are great in my opinion. Yeah. I just don't know why I was having a block with Lamberto Bava. I don't know why. Because when you first said that, I was thinking of like Bay of Blood and stuff like that. And it's like, no, that's Mario Bava. But Demons is probably my all-time favorite of those. But they are all great. I will say that. I do also have Annie Cap's hot fries tonight. I do apologize again. That's not very professional to be eating on camera, but you know, I was a little hungry. Sorry, guys. So, I'm having that. Having my Dirty Shirley. I also have my Diet Mountain Dew here. No zero sugar, unfortunately, which I like better. I think it tastes better. But we've been, at least in Louisville anyway, I don't know about other places, have been running out of the zero sugar stuff quite often. Nah, I don't have the munchies from all that weed because I really don't. I mean, I've had one of those gummies and that's it. And I've never smoked pot. Of course, Steve does have my little girl's in here. My dog, Darcy. What was I saying? See, I'm forgetting. Steve does have something called a headband. And we thought it was an actual headband, but no, it's actually some stuff you smoke. And he said, we need to get some rolling papers and smoke that. And I said, well, I don't know if I want to smoke that or not. I'm just kind of wary of it now. Yeah, he was an AD on a lot of his dad's stuff. Yeah, and it probably was because that Shock seems more like a Lamberto movie than a Mario movie, in my opinion. Do you think that too, Wes? But anyway, I'm not going to go over the housekeeping stuff. You know, if y'all are interested in sending some money my way to help with the live streams and stuff, I'll just say you can send some money to evil.dead.chick1976 at gmail.com, or you can go over to TeePublic and get shirts and other merchandise. Just punch in Dana on Deck on the TeePublic site, and that'll bring up all the stuff. But that's all that I'm going to say on that. I'm broadcasting live on Dead Pit on Patreon right now. How am I doing that? And is that you, Wes? Have you switched counts or something now? Shock has one of the better shock scares. Yeah, it's just, and maybe it's just me, but that whole movie seems sort of like dreamlike and nightmarish, and I really like that. It really, in my opinion, adds something to the movie. But I'm kind of nervous now that I've been told I'm broadcasting live on Dead Pit on Patreon. I'm multi-streaming. So, Wes, did I do that by accident, or are you? Metal Merle. Okay, Metal Merle. Did I do that somehow, or are you guys on the Dead Pit end causing me to multi-stream? So, anyway, let me get to the meat of what I was going to talk about tonight, and you guys can feel free to like, comment, or bring up other things in the chat. I will be looking at the chat as I'm going through this. But I wanted to discuss a few. I haven't gone through all of them, all of the movies in the Analog Nightmares book yet. Well, bless your heart, you shared my stream. Well, I appreciate that. Maybe it'll get me some more exposure. That kind of sounds dirty, though, doesn't it? Exposure. But anyway. Might be the Dirty Shirlies talking here. But like I was saying, I haven't been through all the movies in the Analog Nightmares book yet. I've been through a few of them. And I just wanted to kind of go over them briefly with you guys in case, some of you might be interested in watching them. And I wanted to bring up this book again. I've showed this book before. This is where I'm getting the movies from, the titles of the movies. This is Analog Nightmares, the shot-on-video horror films of 1982 to 1985. And this is by Richard Mogg. You can pick this up from Amazon. I'm trying to remember how much I gave for this. I don't think it was too awfully expensive. But if you're interested in picking this book up, you can certainly get it from Amazon. I think it's still available. This is a 2018 book, so it's not really that old. And for those of you that are fans of Blood Lake, I'm not going to talk about that in depth tonight because I haven't actually gotten to that one in this book. I have seen it, but I'm just going to cover some of the ones that are at the beginning of the book that I've actually gotten a chance to watch. But Blood Lake was directed by a guy named Tim Boggs. It was from 1987, and the author of this book, Analog Nightmares, did an interview with Tim Boggs in 2011, and he sent him 11 detailed questions about the making of the movie. So they chatted back and forth through email while he was waiting for the answers. This was an exciting time for the author because Blood Lake was unquestionably his favorite shot-on-video horror film. And it's probably one of the top favorites of mine for many, many reasons. And when I get to it, I will share all that stuff with you guys in a later live stream. But he did share a lot of stuff, and to the author's astonishment, Boggs delivered a 22-page memoir into his inbox. He detailed events in his life, the production, personal struggles he underwent, many unrelated to Blood Lake, and his ultimate perspective on the film today. So imagine just sending a few questions to somebody, hoping that they will answer them, and getting a 22-page document back. So there's a huge thing on Blood Lake in this book. I'm really looking forward to reading that because that is included in this book. I just haven't gotten to that part yet. But I did watch a couple of these, 2 or 3 of them. Let me actually get to the meat of this real quickly here. We'll actually get to the first chapter. Okay. Which the movies don't even start, the reviews of the movies don't even actually start until chapter 3. And of course, the first film they talk about is Boarding House from 1982. I'm sure a lot of you in here have already seen Boarding House. Has the great John Wintergate in this, who spends a lot of the film meditating in his leopard or cheetah underwear or whatever. What is it, Sammy? Okay, sorry guys. I really wanted to be able to get into this, but Sammy, one of my dogs, is whining at me, so I'm going to see what he needs. Okay, so I'm back. I'll probably have to go away here in a little bit when he gets ready to come in and let him in. But anyway, back to boarding house. Um, it would probably be rare that anybody that's in here right now has not seen Boarding House. There is a 3-hour cut of this movie, unfortunately. And I'm trying to remember if even Steve has been through the 3-hour version. And I don't even think he sat through the 3-hour version of this yet. But the American Film Genre Association, or AFGA, or whatever that place or company is, I think recently put out a Boarding House Blu-ray, maybe. How many dogs do I have, Brad? I have 5 dogs. I have 2 Basset Hounds. I have a Pit Bull Boxer mix. I have a Dachshund Jack Russell mix. And we believe our newest dog, Darcy, to be a Dachshund Chihuahua mix. Although she's mostly Dachshund, she looks a lot like a Dachshund. So, Brad, you have not had the pleasure of seeing Boarding House. Boy, oh boy. Yeah. One thing that I will agree with the author of this book is, by all accounts, this film is nuts. And I would agree with that. But it's also, yeah, damn. Yeah, that's exactly right. I think that myself sometimes. Damn, how did I end up with 5 dogs? But this film is also known as Housegeist. And the first time I watched it, I think Steve, this wasn't the 3-hour cut. Steve actually got me a copy of this, and I remember trying to watch that movie, or trying to watch this thing, and trying to watch it, and trying to watch it, and I kept going to sleep and waking up, and there'd be this bizarre red gobbledygook on the screen, and everybody would be freaking out when it happened. So evidently, when this red gobbledygook starts showing up on the screen, something is trying to get at somebody. And psychedelic imagery is something that's mentioned in this review, and I would agree with that. The big draw, I think, for most people is John Wintergate and how crazy he acts in this movie. Maybe he's really crazy like that. I don't know. Another movie that's not a shot-on-video movie that John Wintergate shows up in is Terror on Tour. He shows up in several background scenes with fans of the Clowns, the band in the movie. And me and Steve refer to him as Pink Pants Man. Actually, I think the credits in Terror on Tour refer to him as Mod Boy. His wife or girlfriend, Kalasu, who is big for her singing career somewhere other than the United States. So I'm not even sure if John Wintergate is his real name. It might not be, because it says Hawk Adley. And he's also the director of Boarding House. Yeah, Terror on Tour. But yeah, but both John Wintergate and his woman Kalasu are both on that as Mod Boy and Mod Girl. Uh, but this is the review says characters behave crazily, then return to normal in following scenes. That is true. A psychedelic image of a gloved hand making fists appears throughout, warning of impending gore. Then later, the film showcases Adley, or Wintergate, naked and levitating a bar of soap in the bathtub. I swear to you, all this stuff does happen in the movie. Everyone looks like they sniffed a line of coke, and food is constantly thrown across rooms. A drunk falls on a golf course. A cop looks straight out of a 1970s porn. And one girl calls another Cindy, then screams, "Your name's been Cindy ever since I've been here." I mean, it's just wacky. And she says that after being told the girl's name was Sandy. And the author still recalls the first time he saw Boarding House, specifically the image of Adley, or Wintergate, sitting on his desk in his underwear, and thinking it was a genuine porno. It just had to be, with its rich mahogany walls, its shag carpets, and those bikini babes who were flashing skin so often. It just had that look that made you think porno. And the look of the film is definitely that is similar to a porno film. So I would also have to agree with the author on that as well. And I'm sorry, guys, I'm going to have to let my dog in here real quickly. Be right back. Okay, back once again. Jay, you say never got into shot on video. Saw Boarding House, 555, Redneck Zombies, Things, Sledgehammer, and some Olaf Ittenbach. Didn't care for them. Is there one shot on video movie you'd recommend to a non believer? Yes, Blood Lake. One that I talked about earlier. To me, you know, a lot of people refer to Boarding House as like the ultimate shot on video movie. But if you want a shot on video movie that has some crazy stuff and bad acting, but is also ultimately entertaining, I would say Blood Lake. Definitely pick up a copy of Blood Lake if you can get it. I got a copy of Blood Lake from Amazon, and it was put out by the AFGA, I believe. And it also has some cool special features, including like a Q&A with the star, Doug Barry, as well as Tim Boggs. And there's also commentary on there with Tim Boggs that's also really good. So yes, Jay, if you want a crazy shot on video movie that's also entertaining and has one of the vulgarest prepubescent kids of all time, and Little Tony. That's all I'm going to say. Little Tony. You got to see this guy. You're very welcome. I think you will really like that one, Jay. Yeah, as far as like the how Boarding House actually looks, other than looking like a porno, the video quality is not real good. But we're talking about shot on video, and the author of Analog Nightmare says someone had the crazy idea to lens this masterpiece, Mystical Terror, in broadcast video. For the first time in history, videotape was the medium used to shoot a feature-length fright film. And it wasn't done for television access, but simply because it was a cheaper way to go. And that evidently is a quote from John Wintergate. Um, but eventually the movie was transferred to 35 millimeter, which honestly didn't do anything to improve it. Oh, here's more of these little, I don't know if they're bots or what they are that come in here and put this nonsense on here. Look. Whatever, John Cena with an S. But, sorry. I was trying to get to these cherries in the bottom of my glass, and I'm getting ice instead. And actually, you know, I said that John Wintergate's woman had a singing career in another country. Actually, both Wintergate and Kalasu had a band called Lightstorm. And you can actually see a picture of them right there with their band. But, yeah, what else can we say about Boarding House? Like I said, it was eventually transferred to 35 millimeter, which didn't really do anything spectacular for the film quality. There was a 2008 DVD commentary where Wintergate states the film had a $30,000 to $40,000 budget, with an additional $45,000 to $50,000 cost for 35 millimeter blow up. I think I would have just said, the heck with it. I'm not doing that. IMDb suggests that the film had an unestimated $10,000 budget, which I suspect is more accurate, the author says. Some video releases did use the 35 millimeter transfer, which resulted in choppy play with crushed blacks. Yet the majority of home video copies have been made from the original video, which looks fantastic. Moving on the screen is smooth and crisp thanks to video's interlaced 29.97 frames per second compared to the film's 24. But if you want my opinion on it, I don't think that Boarding House has ever looked that great. But shooting the movie on analog instantly dated the production. Analog capture technology as it was in its current state in 1982, recording actors and locations with the same visual feel as a family vacation. And this movie does look like somebody's family vacation that got filmed. And I don't know, there's just something bizarre about all these women wanting to stay in a boarding house where John Wintergate is your landlord, pretty much. And why in the world were they attracted to John Wintergate? I mean, you can see John Wintergate in the picture there that I've got up. And that is an actual scene from Boarding House. So, I don't know. The guy is just a weird, wacky looking guy. And nobody was like, I guess maybe because it was the 80s, nobody was really inhibited in any way. They, would come in there while he was naked in the bathtub, these chicks would, and just talk to him. And, he was always doing weird stuff. Just like I said, he was meditating in his cheetah leopard underwear on a desk. He was, making soap levitate in the bathtub, and yeah, I guess some chicks do dig guys with coke and cameras. I think they must have been doing a lot of coke when they were making this movie. Um, so, again, the author says countless viewings later, Boarding House's lasting experience is like riding a haze of drugs while coming out of a gas chamber. It grooves with electrifying rock while drilling your head with an incessant breathing and orgasmic screams. And just when you've grasped the plot, it pulls a fast one and throws you back in the tub or the bed with Adley. It's totally hypnotic. You can watch the film endlessly and still feel like it's the first time. Several memorable moments are laugh out loud with lines delivered in deadpan glee. Food flies across the room daily, and characters never think it's strange. And the notion that Adley surrounds his house and himself with a harem of bikini-clad girls should announce his scumbag status. Scumbag, that's a good description of his character. But he's actually the rat-tailed hero of the story. The film is tightly edited with good use of cutaways, and we have Kalasu singing and rocking everything she's got in a triumphant ending of heart-ripping gonzo breathing. Boarding House has it all. Nudity is frequent and classily understated. Blood is generously thrown around, and a bloody tampon is pulled from the mouth of a fantasy pig's head. It's a scene, man. So, needless to say, Boarding House comes with the author's highest recommendation. This is required viewing for fans of horror, sleaze, 80s excess, and bizarre analog video. Viewing is still preferred on an original video cassette. Paragon did put out a VHS of it. But the film is also available on DVD and now, of course, Blu-ray. Interestingly, a director's cut commissioned in 1999 was released in 2010, featuring a considerable amount of additional footage. Never before seen sequences and alternate takes were reinserted back into the film. With several scenes moved around, the new footage is interesting and allows for more comedy, though it unnecessarily bloats the film to 2 hours and 37 minutes. Now, this may be referring to the cut that I was talking about that was 3 hours, but that's what Steve told me, but it may actually be the 2 hour and 37 minute version. The author actually recommends that you stick with the theatrical release instead of trying to watch that 2 hour and 37 minute version. So, Boarding House is actually a fun little slice of 80s shot on video excess. And it's worth a watch. It's entertaining. I'm trying to remember if Steve and I actually did a commentary for it. We may have. Of course, I may have to try to find it and locate it. So I would recommend it, but I wouldn't do like what I did when I originally watched it and watch it before bed, because you're probably going to wind up going to sleep. Not because the movie is boring, it's just I have a hard time tuning in to something of that caliber of bizarreness at late hours of the night. So I will recommend it. Just try to watch it earlier in the day. Don't wait until late at night to watch Boarding House. Okay. So the next one is another one that I haven't watched for a while, but I remember enough about it to be able to talk about it. And that's Sledgehammer, or as Steve refers to it sometimes, Revenge of the Closet Kid. And the reason why he calls it Revenge of the Closet Kid is because there's a ghost of a kid who was abused and I think subsequently killed by his abusive mother, who just wanted to be like a prostitute and have sex with men all the time and didn't want to take care of her child. Well, actually, she doesn't kill him, but she does abuse him so much that he takes a sledgehammer and kills his mother and her lover, and then he disappears. And then 10 years later, a group of friends come to stay at the same house or cabin. And the boy, who strangely also appears in the film as a 6-foot tall man, and his sledgehammer, return to finish the job. This was done by David A. Pryor, who did some other films as well. But the author of Analog Nightmare says it's unclear if David A. Pryor was aware of Wintergate's boarding house from the previous year, because this came out in 1983. Directed, like I said, by David Pryor. Okay, let me check that, because that seems like that's a weather thing going off on my phone. Sorry, guys. I need to check that. No, actually, that was an Amber Alert. There was a child abduction in Bardstown, Kentucky, unfortunately, which I hope they find the child. But this also stars David Pryor's brother, Ted Pryor. But like I was saying, it's unclear whether Pryor was aware of Wintergate's boarding house from the previous year, and likely not, as boarding house released direct to cinema. But Sledgehammer owes its existence to the same factors. Namely, it was the first film from a director hungry to make a movie, and video was the cheapest format. And when a director's hungry to make a movie, sometimes that can be a good thing. Sometimes it can be a terrible thing, and sometimes it can be a mediocre thing. A Sledgehammer for me falls right in the middle of all those things. It's not a horrible movie. It's not a great movie. And it's got so much wackiness in it that I wouldn't really call it a mediocre movie either. But the similarities in there, because while Boarding House felt like a coke-fueled telekinetic porno, Sledgehammer is more a mushroom trip on the barren floor. The cabin, which was actually Pryor's apartment, is nothing but white floors on white walls, a white mattress and white sheets, and big white couches. And the author says they guessed that was to emphasize all the blood that was going to be in the film. But if the dead white doesn't get to you, just wait for the extreme slow motion. And I am not kidding you. This is extreme slow motion of scenes that are showed over and over again of people walking to and from the cabin. I mean, that was something that just, I had to laugh at that. If anything is boring about the movie Sledgehammer, it's that. A shot of two characters walking in the yard turns into an absurd art house exhibition as they float at 0.3 frames per second. And the effect is only heightened by the soundtrack's repeated low bass. Or bass, rather. Creepy. Pryor states that the film was written in a couple of days. Shot over a week in September, and brother Ted drew the box art, written in a couple of days. And here is the actual box art that was drawn by Ted Pryor, in case you're interested. The slow motion sequences were actually done later to extend the runtime. I think, I would have just said, no, slow motion sequences, we're just going to have the runtime as is. After noticing that the film ran short and the final result, the movie is a definite trip. Pryor wasn't the biggest horror fan, but he liked the genre enough to do, as he put it, the simplest story I could write and make cheap. No official budget was tallied, but Pryor claims it was less than $10,000. Broadcast video again brought that time capsule feeling, but with a completely unique, otherworldly, and medicated quality not found in boarding houses' zaniness. Equally standout is the dynamic between the male characters. And I feel, speaking of the male characters in this movie, I found that whole thing with the groups of men in this movie. There were women in the movie too. I just found that dynamic that the author's talking about sort of bizarre. They're obviously older guys, but they're drinking and belching like careless teens when they're clearly decades older. The man, led by Ted, who was, I didn't realize this, but he was evidently a one-time Playgirl model. That's wild. Are extreme bodybuilders with biceps the size of bowling balls. They treat their girlfriends terribly, and they do. Bouncing beer cans off their heads while generally disregarding anything they say. One poor girl even gets licked chin to eyebrow as a slobbery joke. So, strangely, I don't remember that particular scene. But that's okay. I don't have to remember that scene. I really don't want to remember it. But guys, I hope I haven't put you to sleep, because the conversation seems to have dried up again. But, like I said, feel free to comment in the chat as you wish. Also, the author says the film has a strong homoerotic vibe, which I could see that as well. The killer is big like the sledgehammer itself, which is very phallic. Wait, what was this movie about again, they say? The impact of Sledgehammer as a shot-on-video feature is hard to trace. The movie released straight to video in 1984 with little fanfare and was quickly forgotten. Recent years have been more kind, though, recognizing it as an analog trailblazer that it was. Officially, it is the first feature-length horror film shot on and released to video. However, Sledgehammer has come back into consciousness with the 2011 DVD and VHS release from Intervision, a division of Severin Films. It is a release of spectacular quality and filled with well-deserved extras. Sledgehammer is an uncomfortable but pleasant watch of analog horror, historic in existence and genuinely entertaining for both newcomers and experts to the genre. Plus, it also contains one hell of a good food fight. But speaking of the food fight, this was one thing that Steve warned me that went on forever in this movie. Almost as long as the slow motion shot of the people that they kept showing walking to and from the cabin. I mean, this must be the longest food fight in recorded history. And the author says that it's required viewing. So, I don't know about that. But actually, just talking about these two movies, Boarding House and Sledgehammer, is making me want to go and purchase these, the latest releases, the one Severin put out of Sledgehammer, and the one that AFGA put out of Boarding House. So, now the next one in the book, unfortunately, I've not been able to watch yet. Steve has not been able to get me a copy of it yet. It's The Bleeder or Bloderen. It's a Swedish movie from 1983. So hopefully I'll be able to watch that at some point and be able to get back with you guys on that. Another one I have been actually able to watch recently is Blonde Death from 1983, which surprisingly is 98 minutes long. But keep in mind, that doesn't make it a good film. This is directed by James Dillinger, otherwise known as James Robert Baker. It's not going to star anybody that you know, I'm sure. Sarah Lee Wade, Jack Catalano, Scott Ingram, Linda Miller, and Ann Hearn. Recognize any names there, guys? So the basic story of this is this girl, Tammy, moves with her family from Mississippi to California. Her stepmother is abusive. Her father is weird. He's just flat out weird. He wants to literally, with his wife, wash his teenage daughter's mouth out with soap, literally, for her cussing. And then wants to put an 18-year-old girl over his knee with just a t-shirt and her panties on and paddle her butt. I don't know. There's something just very bizarre about the whole thing. So her father has to go on a business trip to Saudi Arabia. Why he has to go to Saudi Arabia, I don't know. But anyway, he's going to be gone for 3 weeks. So that leaves Tammy at home with her abusive stepmother, who wants to send her off to some kind of Bible camp or something. So Tammy gets really upset and just runs out of the house, meets up with this lesbian chick that obviously is trying to come on to her the whole time she's around her, and it seems like Tammy's too stupid to figure that out, and she finally just like, I can't stay around, I gotta go back home. So she goes back home, finds out her stepmother is gone, and she's left a note that she'll be back in a few days, and she's left her some Tang in the refrigerator. But it turns out that sometime after the stepmother left, some guy who's just gotten out of prison or broke out of prison is holed up in the house with a gun. He appears to take Tammy hostage for a while, but then they become like Bonnie and Clyde or something. They become like partners and end up killing her stepmother and her dad and some other assorted people. I can't really recommend this one. I don't know. It was probably my least favorite out of the ones that I've watched, as far as shot on video. And I don't call it a horror film. Actually, the author of this book calls it a shot on video thriller. But I don't even know if I would call it that. I mean, I don't know what you call it. I mean, it's obviously shot on video, no doubt. But I find Boarding House and Sledgehammer both infinitely more entertaining than Blonde Death. Uh, but Blonde Death does have music by a group called the Angry Samoans, so you can enjoy that for all it's worth. Um, and the author says Oliver Stone must have loved this movie. He must be thinking that maybe he watched this movie and then he wanted to go make Natural Born Killers or something, which is a far superior film to this. Um, yeah. So you can give it a watch, but don't be expecting a whole lot to this one. Okay. So the next film in the book is the one called Copperhead, or Copperhead the Snake Movie. Steve actually made me a copy of this movie. I haven't watched it just yet, but I will be soon. So when I do another one of these, I'll definitely talk about it. But I have watched the one after that that shows up in this book called Suffer Little Children from 1983. It's only 76 minutes long. This one has some creepy moments in it, and it was probably one of the better ones that I've watched here recently. Um, it's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but it works. It worked for me. Um, it's directed by Alan Briggs. I don't know if that's a pseudonym or not. It kind of sounds like a pseudonym. Um, so the basic story is a mute girl is abandoned and left at a children's orphanage. And this is a weird ass children's orphanage anyway. She's welcomed by the group, but problems arise when random fights erupt and a handicapped boy falls violently down the stairs. Suspicion leads to the new girl, who reveals herself to be demonic. Led by Satan, she convinces the other children to kill. And I think that's where the creepiness kicks in, as this is a young girl and she's encouraging the other kids in this orphanage to kill people. Um, it says it's a reenactment of events from August 1984. Now you can take that with a grain of salt. To this end, the film presents itself as a quasi caught on tape in a quasi caught on tape manner, with static shots from staircases and hallways. Performances are fairly believable as upper crust Brits in the 1980s. Keep in mind this is a UK production. Um, there is a pop singing character who the author says feels quite out of place, and I would agree with that. I don't know, he just seems to come out of nowhere. And why would he be coming to an orphanage? I think it was said that he himself was an orphan at this orphanage, and maybe he's trying to give back and support these kids. Um, or maybe I just imagined that was the case, because the author is actually confused by this. He said a rock star visiting an orphanage, and he's the main character. Um, some of the paranormal aspects, flying plants, sliding desks, are handled well and bring chills as the children turn evil. I will agree with that as well. But they do say, unfortunately, many sequences appear staged. Only the bloody knife attacks impress, thanks to the youngsters involved, and Nicola Diana as the demonic mute is adequate, but she's no Linda Blair. Hilariously loud trash metal blares every time something evil is about to happen. I found that kind of bizarre. And the ending has Jesus. And it contains sound effects straight out of Godzilla. And trust me on this has got to be seen and heard to be believed. The film did run into some trouble when it was initially released without a BBFC certification. But its origin was actually drama school students looking to showcase talent. Several Little Children is nonetheless recommended for a good fright. This one has been one of my favorites that I've watched so far out of these. So that's Suffer Little Children. Okay, now the last one I'm going to talk about tonight. So I think I bored people into a coma because nobody's talking now. But the last one I'm going to talk about tonight is Black Devil Doll from Hell. I have never seen this movie, but I heard a lot about it. But maybe I need to watch the whole thing. I've only watched about half of it. And it's only 87 minutes long, from 1984. Directed by Chester Novell Turner and starring Shirley Jones, Marie Sanvillis, Ricky Roach, and Keifer Turner. But, so it stars Shirley Jones as Helen Black, who's this God-fearing woman who goes to church every Sunday, has a Bible in every room, and won't let a man see her naked until they're good and married. But all that changes when a cursed marionette doll unlocks her repressed sexuality. Helen lusts for it, showering and exploring her naked body as the doll watches. And that is an early scene where she's in the shower and the doll is sitting out there and the eyes are going back and forth and stuff. And then the doll comes alive. It attacks her, belching white smoke and raping her until she begs for more. Helen is confused but aroused enough to fall in love, and now she can't get enough. Now, one thing I'm confused about, I thought when Helen Black goes into the shop and sees the doll, that the woman that owns the shop told her the doll was a woman doll, and it looks like a woman, and I assumed it's supposed to be a guy, but so I was confused by that first off, and maybe because I've only watched half of it, I didn't really see the stuff where the doll talks to her. But according to this review in the book, the doll is supposed to talk to her. The only thing that I saw was the doll licking her, and she was, really turned on by it. And then I saw the white smoke coming out and stuff like that. But that appeared to be a dream sequence, and I never seen the doll talk at all in the parts I saw. But the author says this is where shot-on-video horror goes completely off the rails. Whatever technical sophistication Boarding House and Sledgehammer shared is totally out the window here. This is handheld, point-and-shoot quality, completely hilarious, highly offensive as it is, but of real interest to independent fanatics. It doesn't get any more backyard than this. Originally titled The Puppet and shot in Turner's Chicago home with people we knew, Black Devil Doll from Hell is the most unapologetic example of camcorder misuse I've had the pleasure of viewing. Brad, you say you haven't seen any of these. You have heard of some, but usually you see shot on video and pass on them. Yeah, I think a lot of people do, Brad. Assuming it's going to look terrible being shot on video. Sounds like I need to check some of these out. Yeah, I think some of them you will actually enjoy. Let's see. Obviously filmed with off-the-shelf equipment and scored entirely on a Casio keyboard. A black devil doll worms its way into your heart like your first dirty magazine. It's forbidden, but you can't stop looking. Jones plays Helen Black with extreme reservation before turning totally sex crazed, fucking a doll, and then bed hopping with men she hopes will equally satisfy her. I have yet to see her actually having sex with a doll, and I'm not so sure that I actually want to see that or not. Um, but only the doll can satiate her newly awoken lust, and one hasn't lived until seeing and hearing this doll in action. See, that's another thing that I didn't get to. Fully dressed with Rastafarian dreads and painted black, the doll resembles a miniature Rick James. It licks Jones' body, dripping mayonnaise from its mouth. Maybe I fell asleep during the part where mayonnaise was dripping from his mouth. I don't really know if I want to see mayonnaise dripping from his mouth or not. It constantly yaks about how it's going to fuck her, finally doing so in a grotesquely hilarious and frighteningly uncomfortable scene. So, there you have it. You know, I have yet, like I said, to see the whole movie. So, and I will try to watch it in a state where I'm not on NyQuil. Because honestly, the last couple of days is the best I've felt in about a month. I've been sick for weeks. And now I'm finally back to feeling normal. So hopefully I'll be able to enjoy or partake of these movies without having sleep or medicine that's going to make you sleep. But once again, Black Devil Doll's video quality captures surroundings like a documentary time capsule of the early 80s. It's horrendously cheap, allowing the film to feel like someone's actual home movie, and a very dirty one at that. But the picture was actually produced on $7,000 to $8,000 budget, half of which was spent on the camera equipment. Turner did get into some trouble when a pastor, appearing at the beginning, and I did see this guy, wanted to be edited out but had already signed a release. So a rumor was spread that Turner was using the footage for an X-rated film, which he wasn't. Police apparently investigated but backed off after all signed releases were produced and nothing was out of line. There are moments of laugh-out-loud hilarity in Black Devil Doll from Hell, but it's wonderfully balanced with extreme perversion and droll nastiness. And a bizarre eroticism permeates the film that has yet to be duplicated. Truly a trip with strong recommendation. Turner also did Tales from the Quad Dead Zone from 1987, which I have also not yet seen. That was rescued from obscurity by Massacre Video in 2013. Now readily available on DVD, the disc contains both the original release and the preferred director's cut. So you can get an actual legit copy of this from Massacre Video. And you evidently can watch the original release and the director's cut. So, those are the ones in the book that I have actually yet to watch. But there are many, many more in this book. When I first started this project, a little background for you. When I first started this project to watch all the shot-on-video movies I could find, I was mainly looking on the internet, and some of the lists that I found a very comprehensive list, but it turned out some of those movies were not actually shot on video movies. So that led me to getting this book because this person's actually done their research. And it does have, 555, Attack of the Killer Refrigerator, America's Deadliest Home Video, Beauty Queen Butcher, Black River Monster, Blood Summer, Blood Lake, Blood Cult. Actually, Jay, when you were saying ones that you recommend, if you've not seen Blood Cult from 1985, I highly recommend that one as well. There is one of these that I'm kind of interested in watching just based on the title, which is Bloody Video Horror That Made Me Puke on My Aunt Gertrude from 1989. How can you not like a title like that? There's Bride of the Killer Nerd, The Burning Moon, Cannibal Campout, Crazy Fat Ethel 2, Criminally Insane 2, which the Crazy Fat Ethel movies, all of those are ultimately entertaining. But yeah, there's just tons and tons in here, and I'm actually, it's making me more excited about watching some of these, especially the ones that I've never seen, but they just have these great titles. So again, if you're really, starting to get serious about watching some shot on video horror movies, if I've kind of piqued your interest a little bit about watching some of them, I'd highly recommend you pick up this book. Like I said, I got it from Amazon and it wasn't too awfully expensive. And if you want a comprehensive list of movies that are actually shot on video movies, not just movies that people thought were shot on video, and in its heyday of 1982 to 1995, I would highly recommend this book as a book to go by as far as being able to pick some movies. But I went on for about an hour and 23 minutes about this stuff. So, and I only, bless my heart, I only drank one Dirty Shirley during this whole entire thing. But I think I probably, if nobody else has anything they want to comment or ask about, I'm probably going to cut this off. But I did want to do kind of a short live stream because I promised yesterday that I was probably going to do one, and I do apologize that I had to wait so late to do one. And I hope I haven't bored you guys too much talking about this stuff. And I hope you got some enjoyment out of it. Maybe got you in the mood to either seek out these films or buy some copies of the films and watch them. A lot of these that, if you've never seen them, I would suggest trying to find a downloadable copy first, rather than seeking ones out to purchase, because, you really don't want to spend the money if this is not going to be a movie that you're going to watch more than once, or even if you're going to like it or not. So I would suggest, especially with these types of movies, to watch a downloadable copy, or if you have a friend that has a copy they can lend you so you can watch it, I would suggest that first instead of just purchasing all of them that you would be able to purchase. But Jay, Blood Lake and also Blood Cult, I would also suggest as two of the big entertaining shot on video movies for me. So, I'll wait a few seconds or a minute or so and see if anybody has anything that they want to comment or ask or anything. It seems like we had a couple of bots in here putting this weird crap in here. So, um, and Wes, thank you for sharing my stream. I do appreciate that. Um, so I think I'm going to call it a night because it is almost midnight here. It's 5 minutes till midnight here. Um, but I thank all of you guys for stopping by. Brad, Jay, Wes, um, Garrett, X-Ray. I thank all you guys for stopping by and hanging out with me for a little while. Um, I'm not sure when I'll do another one of these live streams because with me feeling better. Thank you, Brad. With me feeling better, of course, I'm going to have to go back to work and be on site more. So that's going to kind of cut out both my movie watching time and my ability to do many of these live streams. But I'll try to give y'all a heads up whenever I'm going to do another one. And thank y'all again, and I will see y'all next time.